Alright, let's play with this, folks. Looks like we're live. Let's see if the stream's on. Nice, stream's on. So, let's go back to our OBS, make sure. Screen share should be on, right? Lock, alright. Once we get more people, that'll change, right? Okay, so we're going to be showing you guys receipts today. So today's video, I'm going to take you along on the rabbit hole. We're going to talk about some things, some uncomfortable truths, so to speak. I want to talk about green energy. I want to talk about the Green New Deal, Germany. I want to talk about, can we go renewable and off-grid? What does the most green, sustainable energy living look like? And my point of view on it, being an actual building analyst, energy expert, and someone who's kind of a professional in the field of energy consumption and usage, believe it or not. Most HVAC guys will sell you that they know all about it and that, this SEER or that SEER will do what for you, but I've had extensive training. I've been through PG&E, SMUD. I've been through special programs and training to learn about things and what really affects general electricity consumption in a home, right? Commercial's a whole different story, but we can talk about that too. And I want to talk about some other things, right? We're going to cover a couple of different stories today. And if you're new here, smash that subscribe and like. Welcome to the channel where we cover all kinds of cool stuff. We'll talk gaming, we'll talk movies, video games, toys, we'll talk comics, movies, we talk news and opinion, all kinds of great stuff. So, but today's video, I want to show you the receipts. We're taking you along. You're going to get to see some of the different things here. And you can see what I was searching right there, actually. So, we're going to start with a little bit of information right now. We're going to do the green energy thing last. Right now I want to start with Snowden, Assange, and Jesse Ventura. What do these three guys have to do with each other? So let's figure it out. So I'm going to take you guys down a rabbit hole, and we're going to talk about what's going on. So Edward Snowden is a former computer intelligence consultant who leaked highly classified information from the National Security Agency in 2013 when he was an employee and subcontractor for the Central Intelligence Agency. His disclosures revealed numerous global surveillance programs, many run by the NSA and the Five Eyes intelligence alliance with the cooperation of telecommunication companies, right? So I want to talk really quick about Snowden. So some people think he's a hero. Some people really like the guy and look up to him, and some people hate him and loathe him. They think he's a traitor. So I want to speak to you people that think he's a traitor. You think he's a bad guy. Because yes, he did spill American secrets, right? He did give away American intelligence information. However, I want to show you a little bit about Jesse Ventura. See, Jesse Ventura had a show called Conspiracy Theory, and it was around, I want to say 2009. Yes, 2009. Jesse Ventura did Conspiracy Theory. And in 2009, and then we're going to talk about something else, right? We're going to tie all this together. Hopefully, we're going to make some bigwigs feel stupid up in the, the news and the government if they were to ever see this. And hopefully, we'll educate the normal person here. Might learn something today. But I've remembered all this and learned it. I just want to make sure I have the receipts to show you guys. Not trying to pound on my own chest, but check this out. In 2009, Jesse Ventura told us the government was spying on us, that the government had built massive data centers throughout the United States and was collecting every phone call, text message, email, and that they were spying on us through our smart TVs, through our computers and laptops, and all this stuff. Now, he told us everything Edward Snowden told us about 3 or 4 years earlier. Why is Snowden in any trouble? because he officially leaked government official documents? Come on now. Let me say two things. For one, Jesse Ventura said everything Snowden said, and then some. 3 or 4 years earlier. He told us. He even showed us videos of the centers. Now, here's a mind blower. In 2001, when 9/11 happened, September 11th, 2001, 9/11. Day I'll never forget. After that, the government passes the Patriot Act. And if you recall, remember, or have any kind of recollection, you were alive back then, the Patriot Act in the law said that they're going to build these big data centers, that they're going to start recording every phone call, email, text message, picture, everything. It said that they're going to start developing these abilities in the context of fighting global terrorism. And they spelled it out. See, what's happened now? The government used to say, you know what? It's not good that there's this, this is local government, small example, but we'll scale it up here in a second. It's not okay that we have this intersection here and there's been 5 children ran over and died. We need a stop sign. And then they put the stop sign in. 2 more kids have died and there's still been plenty of accidents. We need a stoplight. And then they build it. Then they put a law. They put it up. The citizens vote yay or nay on the stoplight. Then they either get the stoplight or they don't. Right? That's how. See, they used to write laws like the whatever act. We propose a law that says that you can't do this or that you have to do this. Right? And it was very simple. It would be one subject, so many pages, and it was about this. Now when they write a law, there's thousands of pages. They got all kinds of shit slipped in there. And the law is like the Protect the People Act. And they sell it to you as like police, let's say, funding or funding for this or that. And then in it there's funding for like dog poop collection, or there's funding in it for like artwork made out of feces, or there's funding in it for Afghani transgender studies. Like, what the hell? So seriously, when they pass a law now, instead of 20 pages, 50 pages, 2-3 pages, 100 pages, they're 1,000, 2,000, 4,000 page laws. So the Patriot Act, inside of it, clearly spelt that they were going to punk us, record us, survey us. So I don't get why anyone's upset. When they were trying to pass the Patriot Act, I'll give the Democrats their due. They screamed bloody murder. They said this Patriot Act is going to be used to spy on American citizens. And old Bushwhacker with his, they got weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and we must invade Afghanistan, Iraq, for what supposedly a Saudi Arabian terrorist did to us. Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense, don't it? When we were dealing with Osama bin Laden a few years before that, Clintons and him had a connection, actually. So it's like, come on. Why are we mad at Snowden? Why? What did he do wrong? He told us nothing we didn't already know. Jesse Ventura told us already, and the Patriot Act told us. Don't believe me? Look up Jesse Ventura conspiracy theory. And let's look it up right here. Surveillance. So we're going to look up conspiracy theory with surveillance. And see, this is just one thing I brought up, but you can go through it. You can find a bunch of information. He basically told us, Jesse Ventura did in his conspiracy theory show, that the government's been spying on us ever since the Patriot Act. And of course, when the Patriot Act passed, it took them a bunch of time to build these massive centers, to buy all the servers and all the hardware and to hire and staff them. But as soon as they're up and running, they started collecting data like a big brain. And then they started building more. And he told us Why the hell is Snowden in trouble? That shows you how this system works. People are dumb, they don't remember, short memory and attention spans, and the government picks and chooses who it goes after. Why did it not go after Hillary Clinton for all the obviously illegal things she did? I have no clue. So, with that in mind, I want you to understand how crooked and how bad our government is, in my opinion. Now, we're going to talk about some green energy. We're going to talk about the Green New Deal. We're going to talk about energy efficiency really quick. So if your bills are high, if your electricity bills are high at your house, you really want to pay attention to this next segment I'm about to go through. This is going to could do you a lot of good. It's going to help you understand how energy is used, how it's consumed, how it's transported. We'll do a real quick breakdown. I'm not going to go too in depth into it. We're going to talk about green energy, how it's made, what it consists of, what, in my opinion, are the best moves forward, and what are our options. So, okay. So first looked it up. Boom. Germany's green energy failure. Germany turns back to coal and natural gas as millions of its solar panels are blanketed in snow and ice. So basically, Germany, let's give you a breakdown of the story. And then you can go and look at many different stories to fact check me and see if I'm lying. Okay? So Germany tried going 100% renewable. They said, we're going to get all of our electricity and power from 100%. We're going to save the world. We're going to save the environment. So massive infrastructure spending on solar, on wind, and on hydroelectric energy. They went mostly those routes, mostly solar. So they did all this, and they found, the winter story will tell you, they could not produce enough energy half the year almost to sustain its population. And we're talking a small little country too. So they were not able to do it, and they had to go back onto coal and fossil fuels, which I'll agree is not good for the world, right? So what is green energy and how is it made? Green energy is energy not made through combustion, basically, of some sorts, right? So combustion is the burning of something. So natural gases, you could burn gases like propane, butane, all kinds of different gases, right? That will create fire that can be then used to generate steam, to turn engines. Lots of different ways you can get energy out of that. The heat alone is energy, for example, used in your heaters, your forced air furnaces, all that stuff. So most of that kind of energy is through combustion, right? Coal plants, natural gas power plants use some form of medium, or for example in some that take wood chips, wood, even trash and debris, and they burn it, and then they have these big stacks that have these giant filters that try to collect as much of the crap that goes up, right? So it's more clean smoke is what they're trying for. But they basically burn that, then it heats water that creates steam that turns in a turbine that turns, something that creates electricity and generates electricity. So they've got to be burning things, right? So you'll see smokestacks always putting stuff into the air. You've got coal power plants burning coal, same kind of principle. You've got, that's not green energy. That's how traditional energy is made. Now, green energy is energy that's not made like that, right? So that's combustion energy, pretty much. So green energy would include things like batteries, solar, wind, and water power, right? And chemical like batteries, which to me, chemical should be ruled out. It is not green energy. It has to be mined from the earth. Look up a lithium mine. Look up all the different stuff the chemicals that go in batteries. Look up how long they last for, what they do to the environment. And then imagine if the entire world was covered with batteries what would that take? Where would we get that lithium from? Where would the dead and bad batteries go and the bad material? And what is the impact on that? And you look at solar panels. What are they made out of? What kind of materials? What is the carbon footprint associated with factories pumping out massive amounts of solar panels? And where do the products and materials come from that make those solar panels? And the wind turbines kill birds. The turbines usually weren't designed correctly, and the failures, or when they fail, the cost of repair, maintenance is so overwhelming. It's like outweighs the benefit. Hydroelectric. In the drought years or certain times of the year, lakes aren't as full. Water isn't always moving as steady. That is not a very reliable source, but it is good during spring and summer, and certain times in the winter there's a lot of water moving. But fall, late summer, when they go, if you get into a drought year, then all bad for water powered stuff, and then it's only going to produce so much. Now there's other ones that use the waves in the ocean, where they have a flotation device attached to like a chain down to a like a pump in a way, and so when the wave comes up, it pulls it up, and then when the wave goes down, it goes back down, and this pumping action generates electricity. There's like a little turbine in there, and they use that, but they only get so many feet. So like it's like pulling on a pull cord, like a pull starter, and they generate electricity. To do a bunch of those, they can generate electricity, but still not going to make enough. And so battery power, all this stuff, like that's off-grid green energy, right? Now, if we went on-grid green energy, same kind of thing, but hook it up to the grid, you're not going to produce enough. And then the footprint, the manpower, the money, and the gross negative to the earth in producing all these solar panels and batteries is going to be horrible. Now, is natural gas, coal, and all these other things, big oil spills and all these are much better? No. Here is the solution for you. I'm going to kind of bury the lead, so to speak. We're going to get into that right now. But the solution for your green energy is going to be nuclear. Now you say, what? Fukushima? You got what? You got Fukushima. You've got Chernobyl. You've got all these examples. Like, why would we want nuclear energy? It's not safe or clean, is it? Let's look something up really quick here. So, now, all right, we're going to talk about nuclear power plants. From what I've learned, mostly use nuclear radioactive material, but the ones that do, it's kind of, is it coincidence that they all use materials used in bombs and military stuff? They go hand in hand. So they can produce they can produce massive amounts of nuclear energy, and then they can also be used to release massive amounts of destructive energy via bombs and other things, right? So all power plants have been using the same similar materials used to make nuclear bombs and other things. And so there's such a power plant as a thorium salt reactor, let's just say a nuclear power plant that uses, I believe it's liquid thorium salt. And what this does is it gives them massive amounts of energy. It creates very similar energy as, let's say, plutonium, uranium, or whatever they're using in the nuclear power plants. However, it is not the material cannot be used to make weapons. So that also kind of de-weaponifies. So let's say when Iran or Korea, or let's say Iran says we want to make nuclear power plants and nuclear stuff, we don't want to make bombs, well then why don't we force them to build thorium nuclear power plants and say, okay, you can have nuclear energy all you want, but then you can't make bombs with this stuff. So thorium nuclear power plants are just so much safer and more efficient, I'm told, and I've done the research on. I'm not, an expert in nuclear power by any means, but in energy, I'm very well versed in it. So look it up. Their nuclear power plants are much more safer. There's a lot more safeguards. There's a lot of things to prevent them from having issues. And again, the type of material that are used in them is super important. So, for example, using like thorium versus plutonium or uranium. So if you don't believe me, look it up. I'm trying to bring the receipts to back up what I'm speaking. So, in a nutshell, let's do a caption on this subject. We want to go all green. AOC, the Green No Deal, most Americans strongly support going green or going efficient. A lot of countries have tried it, specifically Germany, failed. Can't work on a grand scale, which puts us back to coal or, other means of power production. So the other one is nuclear, right? And everyone, I think a lot of people would agree that Chernobyl and Fukushima are not positives for our planet, right? So we're very skeptical of going nuclear. Now look into thorium, look into safe nuclear technology, and I believe that's the route of the future. Now, here's the flip side of this where I'm talking about helping you guys out. This is where I don't need any receipts. I've done this for 15 years and I can bring them up if you want. We can go down some websites. However, if you're talking about your own footprint, your own contribution to this whole mess, here's the things that you can do to make your home more energy efficient. Because obviously, the more energy you use, the higher your electricity bill is, right? So the higher your electricity bill is, obviously, the more energy you're using. So they go hand in hand. It's not good for the environment to consume all this energy, and it's not good for your pocketbook, right? So, how do you use less energy? How do you make your home more efficient? Because that's where you're using all your energy at, right? You can go with a hybrid car. I wouldn't recommend all electric. If you got gas electric, then you got the best of both worlds. There's some pretty cool hybrids coming out, but you're in your home most of the time if you're not at work, right? So energy efficiency in the home is going to include mostly a few different things. Most of your energy input and output is going to go through the high energy using devices like your air conditioner, your heater, your dryer, your stove, refrigerators, and televisions, and certain things that have high energy output. So if you can get a more efficient LCD or type of TV, here's one of the factors. If you feel it puts a lot of heat out, it's using energy. Heat is a direct conversion of energy, right? It takes energy to create that heat. So if your TV's cooler, if your TV, that's one way to kind of just do a layman's term, I would say. If your TV feels like it's putting out a lot of heat, it's probably a less energy efficient TV. If the TV's cool, it's a much more efficient TV. So LCD screens, LED, if you have an older TV, try to upgrade. Less TVs, try to put one in the living room, and that's it. Be a family, watch videos together, share the TV, share the time. Everyone shouldn't have a TV in their bedroom. We shouldn't be all leaving in our bedrooms, but you live the way you want to live. I'm just trying to give you energy efficiency information. So one main television in the central living area of the home, and share it. Play your video games, watch your movies, all down there. And if you've got a lot of people in the house, share. 2 hours for this guy, 2 hours. That thing may be on all day then, but at least there's not TVs on in every room, because they also produce heat, which is going to require your air conditioner to turn on more. So the more TVs you have, the more heat you're using, the more energy you're using, then you're also going to need your air conditioner. Now, the other thing is, so like I said, we're going to talk about the big energy using devices. So obviously, what I'm a super professional at is the home itself and your heating and air conditioning system. So if your home needs to be at a certain temperature and environment for us to feel comfortable in, say it's 78 for you, and X amount of humidity, right? In the wintertime, you get real dry air, you get nosebleeds, sinus issues. In the summertime, you get real humid air, you have mold, other problems. So you should have about 45 to 55% humidity, and the temperature is usually in the summertime anywhere from 74 to 80, depending on your comfort level. And in the wintertime, 66 to about 72, depending on your comfort level, age, and all those other little factors. Certain people, some sexes, like men, I think, I don't remember which one, but one runs hotter than the other one usually. So if you have an office with a bunch of men and women sharing and the whole office is 1 degree, you'll notice that some people complain it's too cold, some people complain it's too hot. So it's, that's a funny, weird one right there. So anyways, a lot of our energy, a lot of our energy is consumed through our heating and air conditioning system. So we're trying to keep our home at a set comfort zone, right? And in order to do that, we need our heater and air conditioner. So your home is also an important factor in this. So the older your home is, or the less efficient it is, the design of it, and or the architecture. Some homes may be relatively new, but they just got some weird architecture. The designer of the home, the homeowner, the builder thought it would look nice to do this or that, but you'll have areas that face like the sun all day long, or they ended up having 3 external walls. So there's all this area, surface area, in which the heat can come in or out of. And it may be pretty, but the design is horrible. Areas where they take the attic or the upstairs and turn it into a 2-story house with really giant high attics, and there's not a lot of space for insulation or a barrier between that. Upstairs will be brutally hot, while downstairs is more comfortable. And that happens in a lot of 2-story houses. You got the stack effect and a lot of other things. But if it's designed right, your home is, so let's put it this way. Your home is like an ice chest, and your heating and air conditioner is like the ice in there, right? And we're like the beer or the soda or whatever. We all want everything, let's just say we want it to stay cool, right? We don't want the ice melting. We don't want a bunch of water in there. So if you have many different ice chests, so let's say you have a good seal. The lid's closed really good. You have a styrofoam one, you have an Igloo, you have a whatever. You get all the way up to the Yetis or whatever, the ones that can keep the ice good for like 3 days or 2 days, because the insulation in there is just so good. They're built so tight. The material, the paint, the color, everything is just done perfect to where less heat gain, right? Well, if you leave that fancy ice chest, you leave the lid open, no matter what you do, your ice is going to melt. So your home is like the ice chest. So the more holes and the more breathability your home has, the more heat you're going to take on. So the less efficient it's going to be. But there's a drawback to being too tight. You can get sick building syndrome, where the air, you don't get enough air changes per hour, ACH. You don't get enough fresh air coming in. Then the air inside of the building can become sickly, stale. Occupants become sick, not really like it very much. Yeah, you're not getting a lot of heat gain or heat loss. And then if your building is a little more leaky, you're going to get a natural air changes per hour. So you're going to have better fresh air, but you're going to have a less efficient home. So there's a trade-off, right? Well, where do you want to be? Well, you want to actually be as tight as possible. You want a perfect tight home where you can get sick building syndrome, but you want something like ventilation, proper ventilation, fans that take air out, or ERV, HRV, fans that bring air in. So you got also, a lot of the new homes are built where the heater or air conditioner actually has a duct that goes somewhere up on the roof to like a gabled vent, so the water, rain can get in there, or like where it's protected, and will draw in a small amount of healthy fresh air into the home while the system's running, to accommodate and change for that. But let's say it's spring or fall and you're not running your air conditioner or heater for a week or two. Well, then that system is inefficient and your home will still have that. An ERV or an HRV will, at sporadic, it's not sporadic, but at certain set intervals, will come on and off and pull stale old air from the house out and bring fresh, clean air from outside in, but at just enough to keep the air perfect, healthy, and fresh for you. And it can be tempered with your heater and air conditioner, best of both worlds. Now, the two biggest things you can do in your home, like what can you do in your home to cut your energy consumption? I know I've gone over a lot of different in-depth topics, but make sure your home's tight. So seal up any plumbing hole, any holes in the attic where like the electrical drops in and there's just a big old hole, or the plumbing comes down and there's just a big hole. Seal that, right? Open your cabinets underneath your sink, and where the plumbing terminations go into the wall, if there's not gaskets or seals, foam that or seal it or gasket it, right? But the biggest leak you're going to get from the outside to the inside is usually through your ductwork, right? One of the biggest leaks. So having your ductwork sealed, airtight, is very important. So have you ever looked up in your ceiling and seen your supply registers that there's dirt and dust and maybe streaks around your venting? And you're like, well, how does that happen? And your filter, you change it and you're clean about that. Well, pressure and temperature correlate. If you have a high pressure, you're going to have a high temperature. If you have a high temperature, you're going to have a high pressure. If you have a low temperature, you're going to have a low pressure. So let's talk, you're running your air conditioner. It lowers the air by about 20 degrees. So say you want it 76 degrees in your house and it turns on. You have 56 degree air coming out. So if your ducts are in your attic, and your attic's hot in the summertime, right? So it could be 150 degrees, and you got this 50 degree cold air pumping through your ducts. If you have holes and leaks in your ducts, when the unit is on, you're wasting money by blowing cold air into your hot attic instead of putting it in the house, right? So by sealing your ducts, you're going to save money on that aspect. But then when the system turns off, that the pressures want to equalize, right? So you got this cold 55 degree air sitting in the ductwork, and the fan's no longer on, so there's no longer any pressure, but it's still cold in that duct. And then it's hot and dirty, nasty attic air is 150 degrees here. It will push its way into your ducting, right? And then the next time you turn your fan on, it gets blown out. So you could have a really clean house. You could change your filters all the time. And if you look up at your supply registers and you see dirt, you dust bunnies or streaks, that's a sign your ducts are leaky. So call an HVAC guy out, have them sealed, but make sure you always get video, that you get pictures. There's a lot of crooks in a lot of different fields. So just make sure you're being told straight. So sealing your ducts and sealing your home is one of the most important things that you can do to save energy. Other things, change your filter in your air conditioner every 30 to 60 days. People, what? I only change it once a year, sometimes once every few years, or maybe twice a year, once in the AC, once in the summer. No, you need to change your filter every 30 to 60 days, depending on your home and the usage. Some homes are so dirty and nasty in a sense that they're leaky. You're pulling in attic there. You got dogs and cats and animals. You got children, the front door, back door, everything open and closing. Maybe carpet, so a lot of dander and stuff to collect. So that home, that filter may be dirty in 3 weeks, nasty dirty in 5 or 6 weeks. You go to an immaculate home with an older couple living there, no animals, no kids, most of it's hardwood floor. That filter may literally need to be changed once every 90 to literally only twice a year. It all depends on usage and situation, and you'll know your own home. If you pull the filter down and it's dirty, you waited too long. If it's visibly dirty. If it's dusty, you did right, change it out, put a new one in. So doing that's going to help you have a more efficient system, work hard, less hard, and just help your efficiency and the healthiness of the air in your home. Now, so air conditioning, ducts sealed, home sealed, and change your filter. Next thing is make sure your coils are clean and your blower's clean. So have someone service it. Have all your stuff clean. If your Freon levels are off just a little bit, it's going to affect how long your air conditioner runs. So those are some big things you can do. Other big things are going to be heat load wise. In the summertime, it might be only 90, it might be 110, depends where you're at. But your roof, most roofs are dark. They're of a specific material that basically they cook and they obtain heat really, really bad. And then that heat turns around and it gets radiated into the attic. Why? That's why when you open your hatch, and even if it's 80 in your house, your attic is just like you instantly start sweating. You instantly start dripping because it's like 150, 160 in attics, 130, 20. Some of them up to 170 or 80. Each one's different depending on how tight they are and how much ventilation they have. So here's a huge one. If your home's got a massive attic, all this ventilation, great. Your utility bill is probably not that bad anyways. And what you can do is you can make sure duct sealed, air sealed, home sealed, everything clean, but then you can add attic insulation. Now, most homes do not have adequate attic space, and by that I mean that the pitch is really low, it's tight, the attic's hot. So what you can do is your attic needs proper ventilation. If you can drop your attic temperature by 20, 30 degrees, you're going to keep your home a lot cooler. Your air conditioner is going to run a lot less. You're going to use less energy. Bill's going to be lower, and you're helping save the planet, right? So make sure you have plenty of attic insulation and attic ventilation. One of the biggest, here's the biggest thing you can do to help cut energy costs in your home. You ready for it? I promise you right now, I'm not trying to sell you nothing. I don't know you or anybody else for that matter. I got my little HVAC business, but I tell people it's whole house fans. The reason for this is, give you a quick little breakdown. When it's 100 degrees outside, your attic may be 150. Now, when I say your attic, that's just the attic air. The roof and the ceiling could be 160, 170. It's been so hot on certain roofs with cheap shoes, I've had the soles of my shoes start melting on the roof while I'm working on units. And I burned myself horribly touching sheet metal, like actual burns from trying to hold something and move it. And I had to hold it long. I'm like, and it's burning the tar out of me, right? So anyways, your roof gets super hot. That heat goes into the attic. Then that heat goes into your insulation, which is supposed to slow down and stop the heat. But it soaks it up like a giant sponge. So all that insulation is hot. All that attic air is hot. The attic roof is hot. And all that heat is soaking down. Hot goes to cold. People think hot air rises. Yeah, hot H2O will rise, and cold, not H2O, hot O2, oxygen, will rise, and cold O2 will fall, right? So that's just a density thing. It's just, yes, the hot air is going to lift, the cold air is going to fall. But when you have, if you take a spoon and you hold it below, and you hold a metal spoon and you put a blowtorch to the top of that spoon, the heat will come down and burn your hand, right? Heat transfer. Hot goes to cold. So all of that hot air in your attic insulation is just soaked with heat, and then it pours into your home warms up, your AC's got to come on. So your home is only about 75, 80 degrees, right? And even if it's 90 or 80 outside, you take that 80 degree air between 8 and 10 o'clock in the morning when it's a hot summer day, your attic's still hot from last night. Or if you have a whole house fan, maybe not, and this is why. So you take the whole house fan, you turn it on. What that's going to do is bring all that air from outside and all the air inside your home, and it's going to push it into the attic where it's going to come out all the ventilation areas, right? As I tell you, got to have a well-ventilated attic. So the gable vents, all the little circular holes or holes in the eave, right? All the air is going to come out. And what it's going to do is you got 120, 170 degree, whatever, air sitting up there. Then you shove this 80 degree air into it, you pull all the 170 degree air goes out. Now your roof's still 170, attic insulation still 170, so you run your whole house fan for about 30, 40 minutes, however long it takes, maybe 15 or 20. And this 80, 85, whatever it is, air washes the roof, the insulation, and it starts, remember, hot goes to cold. So all the heat in the insulation starts leaving. All the heat in the roof starts leaving. And you, next thing you know, your roof, the bottom of it's 80 degrees. Next thing you know, your attic insulation's 80 and your attic's 80. Then you turn your whole house fan off, you run your AC for a half hour. Now your house is back down to 76. Then the sun's beating up on your home all day. Your AC will stay off. It won't run all day. Finally, after hours and hours and hours of the sun beating the roof up, heating the roof up, heating the attic up, going through the attic insulation, now your home will finally start to warm up and your AC will run for a few hours. Then as soon as the sun starts to go down and it gets cold, you do the whole house fan again and you remove all that heat. And you will use your air conditioner this much versus this much for a regular home. And the whole house fan uses barely energy. So you want to save the planet. You want to go green. Look into nuclear power. Look into thorium salt reactors. Look into, if you really don't want to go that way or that's not an option, we need to also look into hybrid off-grid situations where we have some solar, where we have some battery, but we still need to have some form of a backup from the grid system, from a coal plant or a natural gas or whatever have you, if we can't get on board with nuclear. But nuclear is the way to go. But at the current situation where we're using fossil fuels, natural gases, stuff like that, if we can cut our consumption of energy, we're doing our part right there. We're helping tremendously. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, today's live stream. It was kind of a two-prong. I know they're completely different topics, but I wanted to spend a little time with you guys and gals. I'm going to put a lot more time into this channel here. I want to grow this channel, Common Sense Talks. I want to be open and honest and be able to talk about all my feelings on news, opinion, the current affairs, what's going on in the world. Also about games and videos and do, breakdowns. I like to do a lot of different stuff I'd share with you guys on this channel. So this is kind of giving you a taste of what I'm going to be doing here. So again, first we talked about Edward Snowden. We talked about Jesse Ventura. We talked about the mega spying data centers. We talked about the Patriot Act and the fact that we knew all of this. So I don't know why Snowden's even in trouble. I know he officially confirmed it. He leaked the government documents, but technically none of that should have been classified because we all knew about it. The Patriot Act spelled it all out for us. Jesse Ventura told us 3 or 4 years earlier. So I don't know, what's your comments on that? How do you feel about that? I'm a strong patriot. I love my country. I support the troops. I support the American people, the American dream, the American way of living. But I don't support tyranny. I don't support either left or right. I don't support these crazy ideologies, right? I'm not a wingnut. I believe in freedom, stuff like that. So if you are similar minded, smash that subscribe and like button and hang out, and we'll be having a lot more cool videos like this. This is just a share the ride. I'd kind of like to bring you guys along. I might do a few more videos like this where what I'm doing is I'll go over some different things, and then maybe what we'll do is at the end of the video, for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, we'll go back to where I can actually see all your comments, or I can even put the comment section popped up. I can separate it so I can interact with you guys a little more. But we're trying some different, setups, so to speak, to kind of find out what works for us. We've got over here at the channel, got Common Sense Fishing and Common Sense Talks. I've got OBS Pro, OBS Labs. I've got Adobe Premiere, Adobe Pro, and we can use the YouTube Stream app, or a lot of different things. So we're trying to share the screen so you guys can see what I see, trying to set up the audio correctly so it's going through the microphone only, making sure that